During the last interglacial period, the Red Sea coast of Eritrea was occupied by humans. It is believed that the area was on the route out of Africa that some scholars suggest was used by early humans to colonize the rest of the old world. In 1999, the Eritrean Research Project team, composed of Eritrean, Canadian, American, Dutch, and French scientists, discovered a Paleolithic site with stone and obsidian tools dated than over 125,000 years old near the Bay of Zula south of Massawa along the Red Sea littoral. The tools are believed to have been used by early humans to harvest marine resources such as clams and oysters. Research shows tools found in the Barca Valley dating from 8000 BC appear to offer the first concrete evidence of human settlement in the area. Research also shows that many of the ethnic groups of Eritrea were the first to inhabit these areas. Excavation in the near Agordat in central Eritrea yielded the remains of an ancient pre-Aksumite civilization known as the Gash Group. Ceramics were discovered that were dating back between 2500 and 1500 BC. Around 2000 BC, parts of Eritrea were most likely part of the land of Punt, first mentioned in the 25th century BC. It was known for producing and exporting gold, aromatic resins, black wood, ebony, ivory, and wild animals. The region is known from ancient Egyptian records of trade expedition to it. Excavation at Sembel found evidence of an ancient pre-Aksumite civilization in Greater Asmara. This Hona urban culture is believed to have been among the oldest pastoral and agricultural communities in East Africa. Artifacts at the site have been dated to between 800 BC and 400 BC, contemporaneous with other pre-Aksumite cemeteries in the Eritrean and Ethiopian highlands during the first millennium BC. Djibouti was a kingdom that encompassed most of Eritrea and the northern frontier of Ethiopia. The polity cited during the 10th to 5th centuries BC, given the presence of massive temple complex at Jeha. This area was most likely the kingdom's capital. Kohaito, often identified as the town of Koloe in the periplus of the Eritrean Sea, as well as Matara, were important ancient Dhamit kingdom cities in southern Eritrea. The region developed irrigation systems, uses plows, grape millet, and made iron tools and weapons. After the fall of Dhamit in the 5th century BC, the plateau came to be dominated by the smaller successor kingdoms. This lasted until the rise of one of these polities during the 1st century the kingdom of Aksum, which was able to reunite the area. The kingdom of Aksum was a trading empire centered in Eritrea and northern Ethiopia. It is cited for approximately 940 AD, growing from the Proto-Aksumite Iron Age period around 4th century BC to achieve prominence by the 1st century AD. According to the medieval Liber Aksumæ, Book of Aksum, Aksum's first capital, Massaber, was built by Ethiopia's son of Cush. The capital was later moved to Ashum in the northern Ethiopia. The kingdom used the name Ethiopia as early as the 4th century. The Aksumites erected a number of large stelae, which served a religious purpose in pre-Christian times. One of these granite columns, the obelisk of Aksum, is the largest such structure in the world, standing at 27 meters under a savanna. Aksum later adopted Christianity. Christianity was the first world religion to be adopted in Eritrea, and the oldest monastery in the country, Debre Sina, was built during the 4th century. It is one of the oldest monasteries in Africa and the world. Debre Libanos, the second oldest monastery, was said to have been founded in the late 5th or early 6th century. Originally located in the village of Ham, it was moved to an inaccessible location of the edge of a cliff below the Ham Plateau. Its church contains the Golden Gospel, a metal-covered Bible dating to the 13th century, dating with Debre Libanos was an important seat of religious power. In the 7th century, early Muslims from Mecca and last companions of the Islamic Prophet Muhammad ﷺ sought refuge for Qurayshi persecution by traveling to the kingdom, a journey known in Islamic history and the first Hijrah. They reportedly built the first African mosque, that is the mosque of the companions Massawa. The kingdom is mentioned in the periplus of the Eritrean Sea as an important marketplace for ivory, which was exported throughout the ancient world. Aksum was at the time ruled by Soskales, who also governed the port of Adulis. The Aksumite rules facilitate trade by meeting the old Aksumite currency. After the decline of Aksum, the Eritrean highlands were under the domain of the Christian kingdom of Medri Bahri, ruled by a Bahri Negus, or Bahri Negash, meaning she king. The area was at the first known as Asmara.It Bahri, between the seas rivers, the land between the sea and the Merek River. The entire coastal domain of Michael Bahri was under the Adal Sultanate during the reigns of Sultan Badlai ibn Sa'ad ad-Din. The state was later reconquered by the Ethiopian Emperor Zara Jacob and renamed the Medri Bahri Silan in Tigrinya, although it includes some areas like Shiri in Ethiopia on the other side of the Mereb. today in Ethiopia, with its capital at the Barahwa. The state's main provinces were Hamasien, Sarai, and Akele Guzai. By 1517, the Ottoman had successes in conquering Medri Bahri. They occupied all of northeastern present-day Eritrea for the next 2 decades, an area which stretches from Massawa and Eswatini in Sudan. The territory became an Ottoman governorate known as the Habesh Eyalet. Massawa served as the new province's first capital. When the city became of secondary economical importance, the administrative capital was soon moving across the Red Sea to Jeddah. The first Westerner to visit Eritrea was the Portuguese explorer Francisco Alvarez in 1520. In his books, we have the first description of the local powers of Tigray, the kingdom of Aksum and Barnagais. The coast of present-day Eritrea was the one that warranted the connection to the region of Tigray, where the Portuguese had a small colony, and therefore the connection to the interior Ethiopian allies of the Portuguese. Massawa was also the stage for the 1541 landing of troops by Cristóvão da Gama in the military campaign that would eventually defeat the Adal Sultanate in the final battle of Wayna Daga in 1543. The Turks tried to occupy the highland parts of Medri Bahri in 1559, and withdrew after they encountered resistance and were pushed back by the Bahri Negash and Highland forces. In 1578, they tried to expand into the highlands with the help of Bahri Negash Sijahak, who had switched alliance due to a power struggle. Ethiopian Emperor Sarga Dengel made a punitive expedition against the Turks in 1588 in response to their raids in the northern provinces, and by 1589 they were once again apparently compelled to withdraw their forces to the coast. The Ottomans were eventually driven out in the last quarter of the 16th century. However, they retained control over the seaboard until the establishment of Italian Eritrea in the late 1800s. In 1734, the Afar leader Gaddafi established the Midaito dynasty in Ethiopia, which later also came to include the southern Denkel lowlands of Eritrea, thus incorporating the southern Denkel lowlands to the Sultanate of Auza. 16th century also marked the arrival of the Ottomans, who began making inroads in the Red Sea area. The boundaries of the present-day Eritrean nation-state were established during the Scramble for Africa. In 1869 or 1870, the ruling local chief sold lands surrounding the Bay of Asabaf to the Rubatino Shipping Company. The area served as a colony station along the shipping lanes introduced by the recently completed Suez Canal. In the vacuum that followed, the 18 1889 death of Emperor Johannes IV, Hen Oreste Baratieri occupied the highlands along the Eritrean coasts, and Italy proclaiming the establishment of the new colony of Italian Eritrea, a colony of the Kingdom of Italy. In the Treaty of Buchale, signed the same year, King Menelik of Shawa, a southern Ethiopian kingdom, recognized the Italian occupation of his rivals' lands of Bogos, Hamasien, Akele Gusai, and Serai, in exchange for guarantees of financial assistance and continuing access to European arms and ammunition. His subsequent victory over her rival kings and enthronements and Emperor Menelik II, 1899-1930, made the treaty formally binding upon the entire territory. In 1888, the Italian administration launched its first development projects in the new colony. The Eritrean Railway was completed to Sa'ati in 1888 and reached Asmara in the highlands in 1911. The Asmara-Wasaba-Kablawai was the longest line in the world during its time, but was later dismantled by the British in Second World War. Besides major infrastructural projects, the colonial authorities invested significantly in the agricultural sector. It also oversaw the position of urban amenities in Asmara and Massawa, and employed many Eritreans in public service, particularly in the police and public works departments. Thousands of Eritreans were concurrently enlisted in the army, serving during the Italo-Turkish War in Libya as well as the First and Second Italo-Abyssinian Wars. Additionally, the Italian Eritrea administration opened a number of new factories which produced buttons, cooking oil, pasta, construction materials, packing meat, tobacco, hide, and other household commodities. In 1939, there were around 2,198 factories, and most of the employees were Eritrean citizens. The establishments of industries also made and increased the number of both Italian and Eritreans residing in the cities. The numbers of Italians residing in the territory increased from 4,600 to 75,000 in 5 years, and with the involvement of Eritreans in industries, trade, and fruit plantation was expanded across the nation, while some of the plantations were owned by Eritreans. In 1922, Benito Mussolini's rise to power in Italy brought profound change to the colonial government in Italian Eritrea. After Il Duce declared the birth of the Italian Empire in May 1936, Italian Eritrea enlarged with the northern Ethiopia's regions and Italian Somaliland were merged with the just conquered Ethiopia in the new Italian East Africa, Africa Orientale Italiana, administrative territory. This fascist period was characterized by imperial expansion in the name of a new Roman Empire. Eritrea was chosen by the Italian government to be the industrial center of Italian East Africa. Asmara's architecture after 1935 was greatly improved to become a modernist Art Deco city. In 2017 has been declared a UNESCO World City Heritage, featuring eclectic and rationalist built forms, well-defined open spaces, and public and private buildings, including cinemas, shops, banks, religious structures, public and private offices, industrial facilities, and residences, according to UNESCO's publications. The Italians resigned more than 1,400 buildings in a construction boom that was only halted by Italy's involvement in WW2. This included Art Deco masterpieces like the worldwide famous Fiat Tagliere building and the cinema Impero.